I'm very humbled because you are also going to be the first doctor that we've ever had on our podcast. So welcome to REC Experience.
Thank you. Yeah. And as long as nobody is asking me to treat their cold or flu, because I'm not that kind of doctor, I think we'll get along great.
Well, that's a great segue, actually, because what kind of doctor are you then?
So I earned my PhD in neuroscience from USC by studying the neuroscience of gratitude. I'm really interested in the way that we can use our mind to, channel various outcomes and to shape challenge and to be resilient. And gratitude is one of these skills that people can develop that leads to great benefits, both for our health, our relationships, and I think for our performance, though we need more research in this area. My work now is really studying how these mental frameworks lead to improvements in performance and how we can practice them and how they impact our body. And most importantly, I'm interested in translating the science of high performance into strategies and tactics that people can use in their everyday lives.
So gratitude, in your opinion, is something that one can learn? Because I feel really blessed and I'm very grateful, and no pun intended, but that I have really just born with it. I really feel like I was. And I say that because, my parents, like I tell my team and all my viewers and listeners know that very blessed. My parents overloved me, if that makes sense, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for a lot of people around me, for the 2 or 3 talents that I'm really good at. I know what I'm not good at. But in your opinion, doctor, it is something that someone can learn to be grateful?
It's actually not my opinion. That's what the research says. And it's not that it's an easy skill, and many people come to gratitude from many different perspectives. And we're really interested in how we can shape gratitude during the really tough times.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from an understanding of how emotion and the body work together, that gratitude isn't just happiness. It's not just another word for feeling good about getting something nice. Gratitude can be overlapped. It's also not a single emotional feeling, and actually no emotional feeling is so pure as to be called just one thing. These things overlap. There's a tapestry for every emotional experience that's constantly unfolding in our bodies and experienced by our minds and thought about and used to make decisions. That's what it's for. And so we think of gratitude as something that can be very small, for something like somebody holding a door for you, which we actually studied, all the way to something like somebody saving your life. And what you see is that gratitude is not just a single thing, as you'd expect, but it's also not just the same thing as feeling happy all the time. You can have gratitude during very deep moments of pain, and it can help relieve suffering when you really connect and tap into kind of the joy of the human experience. So for me, gratitude is a skill because you can start to look for, like anything, like learning how to recognize fine art or listen to music or, throw a football. You start to recognize and see details in these acts of performance that you did not see that emerge when you learn to tune into the frequency, so to speak. With gratitude, practicing gratitude, the simple act of writing things down that you're grateful for, like I did in my gratitude journal today, of something about not running anybody over on my morning commute through Los Angeles traffic.
Right.
It can be anything, but building that sensitivity, that antenna toward abundance, is where gratitude comes from. And so the research on gratitude is coming around, and what we'll start to see is sort of the artistry of gratitude, of when to express, when to hold back, when to amplify, because like anything, there's probably a happy medium for it, and we'll learn that. But the basic skill of wherever we are, wherever we sit, we can probably take a moment, reflect, and find something to be grateful for. And that practice can be built And there's studies showing that when we intervene and get people to write down things they're grateful for, good things can happen in terms of people's perspectives and understanding of things.
I always feel that if you want to look for negative things in and around your life, they're not very hard to find. But if you also want to look for, on the flip side of that, if you want to look for some things that you can be grateful about and be happy about, you can also do that as well. It's almost just a switch of the mind. Is that what studies are finding from your perspective, Doctor?
Yes. Maybe not in quite so plain terms. There's going to be some texture around it, but yeah, absolutely. So there's one of my friends, his name's Evan Kleiman. He did this study. I think he was at Harvard. I'm not sure if he's still there, but he found that people who practice gratitude find that they have more things to be grateful for. So it gets easier. It's kind of like a muscle. It's actually not a bad analogy. It's not perfect, but it's not a bad analogy to think about gratitude and these mental practices overall, even things like optimism, focusing on your broader purpose, building a sense of autonomy and what we call locus of control, that is understanding how you can respond and take control of the things, of your response to things, not to things themselves. But these things can be practiced like a muscle. It's a lot of good, not a bad way to think about it. So gratitude can be thought of as sort of the more you practice, the easier it gets. And one thing I caution the listeners, the readers, sometimes you have a hard day and you just think, oh, well, if I could just be grateful, all the pain will go away. And that's not exactly the way it can work. I think you sort of have to chip away at it long term. Again, just like building a muscle. Like if you sit down to bench press and you go for two plates or 230 pounds or whatever, the first rep is probably going to break you. But you still up to it.
You might not even be able to lift it if you've never done one plate before.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's the way. It's really not a bad way to think about it. That if you're sitting here and you're thinking, I don't have a gratitude practice, I don't have a mental skills routine for training the mind. The way to start is with simple stuff that does not start with self-judgment or thinking I'm not grateful enough or I'm not this enough or anything enough. And start with, get the bar off of the rack and make sure your shoulders don't creak and your elbows are good and your form is good, and work on your form. And then you build up and it starts to be something you can draw upon in times of need.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the REC Experience. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and share.